Most RV owners drive off the dealer lot without ever learning half of what their own rig can genuinely do. A generator that can wake itself up in the middle of the night. A leveling system hiding a manual override most owners never touch. A single panel that quietly ties every other system together. 18 hidden features, counted down, the ones almost nobody actually shows you at the walkthrough, and the ones you genuinely wish someone had. Number 18. Auto start on a genuinely low battery. Plenty of built-in generators include a genuinely useful auto start feature that fires up the generator automatically once your house battery drops below a specific voltage threshold, protecting sensitive electronics and keeping your refrigerator running even while you are genuinely asleep or away from the rig entirely. Most owners never actually enable this setting because it lives buried inside a menu they never think to explore during a rushed initial walkthrough. This feature genuinely matters most during a long boondocking stretch, precisely when nobody is actively monitoring battery levels around the clock, and a dead battery could genuinely spoil an entire refrigerator full of food overnight. The specific voltage threshold triggering this auto start is often genuinely adjustable too, letting you start the generator slightly earlier if you would rather protect your battery more conservatively than the factory default setting assumes. Confirm your specific propane or fuel level before ever relying on this feature overnight, since an auto-starting generator running on a nearly empty tank defeats the entire purpose of the safeguard. Tank readings hide more lies than owners realize. Number 17. Recalibrating tank sensors that lie to you. Tank level sensors mounted on the outside of a holding tank frequently give genuinely inaccurate readings. Once residue and build-up coat the sensor strips over time, showing a tank as full when it is actually nearly empty, or the exact reverse. A hidden recalibration procedure exists on plenty of monitoring panels, typically accessed by holding a specific button combination, letting you reset the system baseline after a genuine cleaning. A specialized tank treatment product designed specifically to break down this exact build-up can genuinely restore accuracy even without a full physical cleaning, though a true reset of the panel itself still matters considerably once the actual sensor strips are genuinely clean again. Owners who genuinely track actual usage between fill-ups for several weeks can also cross-check the panel reading against a real-world estimate, catching a genuinely stuck or inaccurate sensor considerably faster than waiting for an actual overflow to reveal the exact same problem. Most owners simply stop trusting their tank gauges entirely rather than ever discovering this actual fix exists. Stuck slides teach a lesson nobody wants. Number 16. The manual slide override. Almost nobody learns. Every powered slide-out includes a genuinely important manual override mechanism, specifically for situations where the electric motor fails or the battery dies with the slide still extended. Most owners never locate this override until the exact moment they genuinely need it, typically during a real emergency with limited daylight and considerably less patience than the task actually requires. This override typically involves a specific hand crank or drill attachment stored somewhere near the slide mechanism itself, and knowing exactly which tool your specific model actually requires saves genuine time during a moment when time already feels considerably scarce. Keep the correct tool physically stored alongside the actual override location itself, rather than buried somewhere in a completely separate toolbox, since a genuinely correct tool you cannot actually locate provides exactly zero benefit during a real emergency. Locate and physically test yours during a calm afternoon at home, confirming you actually understand the correct tool and the correct specific motion before a genuine crisis ever forces you to learn it under pressure. Some valves protect your entire water system. Number 15. The water heater bypass valve. That saves real money. Winterizing an RV without first switching the water heater bypass valve forces expensive antifreeze directly into your water heater tank, wasting genuinely several gallons of product for absolutely no actual protective benefit whatsoever. This specific valve, typically hidden behind an access panel near the water heater itself, redirects antifreeze around the tank entirely rather than filling a compartment that drains completely dry during proper winterization anyway. Photographing the exact valve position the very first time you correctly set it saves genuine guessing every single following season, since the exact same handle position that felt obvious in autumn genuinely fades from memory by the time next winter actually arrives. Owners genuinely new to winterizing sometimes skip this valve entirely on their first attempt, only discovering the actual mistake the following spring when a genuinely diluted, ineffective antifreeze concentration shows up throughout the whole system instead of just the tank. Confirm your specific valve position before ever running antifreeze through the system, since skipping this single step wastes real money literally every single season. One hidden switch saves your battery all winter. Number 14. Where your actual battery disconnect lives. A genuine battery disconnect switch exists on most RVs, specifically to prevent slow parasitic battery drain during storage, yet plenty of owners never actually locate theirs, letting small phantom loads slowly kill an otherwise healthy battery over several unused winter months. Even with everything powered off, small electronics like the propane detector and the main control panel itself continue drawing a genuinely tiny but constant trickle of current, exactly the kind of load that seems harmless day to day but genuinely adds up across several unused months. This switch typically hides near the battery compartment itself or occasionally inside a labeled interior storage bay, and physically finding it once means you can actually use it every single time the rig sits unused for more than a week or two. A genuinely simple habit that protects a considerably expensive battery for the cost of a single flipped switch. Wind sensors protect equipment nobody watches. Number 13. The awning sensor. Most owners never trust. Certain powered awnings include a genuinely functional wind sensor that automatically retracts the awning the moment wind speed crosses a specific dangerous threshold, protecting the actual awning fabric and hardware from real storm damage while you are genuinely away from the rig or simply asleep inside it. Confirm your specific sensor is genuinely enabled rather than simply installed, since certain systems ship with the automatic feature switched off by default until an owner actually activates it manually the very first time. Plenty of owners manually retract every single time, specifically because they never actually confirm the sensor works, missing out on a genuinely useful safeguard that exists specifically to protect expensive hardware during the exact moment you cannot personally react fast enough yourself. Storage hides in places most owners overlook entirely. Let me say one thing and then I will not bring it up again. I have gathered these secrets and much more in a book over at rvsecrets.com. If you want it, it is in the comments and on the right side of the screen. That is all. Let us go further with the video. Number 12. Storage compartments, hiding in plain sight. Beyond the obvious exterior bays, plenty of RVs include genuinely clever hidden storage built into places most owners never think to check, underneath dinette seating, behind removable access panels, and inside stair compartments specifically designed to swallow considerably more gear than their modest size initially suggests. Even certain headboards and overhead cabinets hide a genuinely useful shallow compartment behind what looks like simple decorative trim, easily missed unless you specifically run a hand along the edge searching for a seam. Walk through your entire rig specifically looking for any panel with a small latch or recessed handle, since manufacturers frequently tuck genuinely useful storage into spaces that look purely decorative or structural at a casual first glance. Cameras might already sit installed. Number 11. Backup camera integration. You might already own certain RV models include a genuinely integrated backup camera system that displays automatically the instant you shift into reverse, sometimes even overlaying the exact same feed directly onto a rearview mirror monitor rather than requiring a completely separate dedicated screen mounted somewhere else on the dash. This built-in system frequently also includes a genuinely useful side view mode, letting you check blind spots along the length of the rig itself, a feature many owners never realize exists alongside the standard reverse camera view. Plenty of owners assume this feature requires an aftermarket purchase entirely, never realizing the actual hardware sits already installed, simply waiting on a wiring connection or a specific settings menu to actually activate it. Fine control sits one menu below automatic. Number 10. The leveling override buried. One-menu deep automatic leveling systems handle the entire process with a single button press on plenty of modern RVs. Yet a genuinely useful manual override exists for situations where you specifically need fine control. The automatic system cannot actually provide, such as a genuinely tricky sloped site the sensors alone struggle to properly read. Learning to operate this override individually on each jack lets you correct a slightly uneven result, the automatic cycle produced, rather than simply accepting a subtly off-level rig for the entire duration of your stay. This override typically sits one menu layer beneath the primary auto-level button, a location most owners never actually explore since the automatic system genuinely works correctly the overwhelming majority of the time. Stubborn furnaces rarely need a real repair. Number 9. Resetting a furnace that refuses to light. A furnace that clicks repeatedly without ever actually igniting frequently just needs its direct spark ignition system genuinely reset rather than an expensive service call most owners assume is actually required. This typically involves cycling the thermostat off, waiting a genuine full minute, then trying again, allowing residual gas to clear completely from the line before the system attempts ignition again. Cold weather itself can also genuinely worsen this exact issue since thickened propane or a slightly weak battery struggles considerably more to generate the actual spark needed on the very first attempt during a genuinely frigid morning. Checking the actual battery voltage feeding the ignition board is genuinely worth doing before assuming the entire unit has failed, since a marginal battery alone can cause this exact same repeated clicking symptom. Plenty of owners pay for a service visit that ends with a technician performing this exact same simple reset in front of them for a fee that could have genuinely been avoided entirely. Sound zones change more than most owners realize. Number 8. Separate interior and exterior speaker zones. Plenty of RVs wire interior and exterior speakers into genuinely separate, independently controllable zones, letting you play music outside during setup while keeping the interior speakers completely silent, or the exact reverse once everyone actually heads inside for the evening. Most owners never discover this exists because the default setting frequently plays audio through both zones simultaneously, and the actual zone control hides inside a settings menu few owners ever think to explore on their own. Once discovered, plenty of owners genuinely appreciate keeping the interior speakers off entirely during a quiet campsite evening, letting outdoor music stay outdoors without disturbing anyone actually trying to sleep just a few feet away inside. Charge controllers reveal more than a light. Number 7. Reading your solar charge controller correctly. A solar charge controller does considerably more than simply top off your battery, and the actual display screen on most controllers shows real-time charging amperage, genuine battery voltage, and total energy harvested for the entire day if you actually know where to look for it. Most owners glance at a single simple indicator light and never explore the actual detailed menu underneath, missing genuinely useful diagnostic information that can flag a failing panel or a loose connection long before a real problem ever actually strands you off-grid. Checking this specific screen once daily during an extended boondocking trip genuinely builds a useful baseline, letting you notice a genuine drop in output considerably sooner than waiting until your battery itself starts running unexpectedly low. Frozen pockets hide inside a pump nobody checks. Number 6. The bypass trick for winterizing your freshwater pump. Running antifreeze through your system without first understanding how your specific freshwater pump interacts with the bypass valve can leave genuine pockets of plain water trapped inside pump housings, precisely the spots most vulnerable to actual freeze damage. Water expands considerably as it freezes, and even a genuinely small trapped pocket left behind inside a pump housing can crack a component that only reveals the actual damage the following spring, long after the exact cause has already been forgotten. Some pumps also include their own internal check valve that genuinely complicates a full bypass, meaning a brief manual priming step matters considerably more on those specific models than owners of a simpler pump design ever actually need to worry about. Confirm your specific pump's correct priming sequence before running antifreeze through the system, and run the pump briefly with the bypass valve correctly positioned to ensure antifreeze genuinely reaches every single internal passage, rather than leaving hidden water pockets behind. Blinking lights mean less than owners fear. Number 5. What your propane detector test button actually does. The small test button on your propane detector does more than simply confirm the alarm can make noise, and holding it for a genuinely specific duration on certain models actually cycles the unit through a real self-diagnostic sequence, checking sensor sensitivity rather than simply testing the speaker itself. A detector that passes the simple noise test can still have a genuinely degraded sensor underneath, which is exactly why relying purely on that basic beep test alone provides a genuinely false sense of security over time. Replace these detectors on the actual manufacturer-recommended interval, regardless of whether they still technically pass a basic test, since the actual sensor element genuinely degrades with age in a way a simple beep test alone cannot ever fully reveal. Weak signal frustrates owners who never look nearby. Number 4. The antenna booster switch. Hiding by the TV, plenty of RVs include a genuine signal booster switch for the TV antenna, typically mounted on a wall panel somewhere near the actual television itself, and leaving this switch off in a genuinely weak signal area can make the difference between watching a completely clear picture and staring at nothing but static all evening. This booster works best paired with a properly extended and correctly oriented crank-up antenna, since even a genuinely powerful booster cannot compensate for an antenna left retracted or pointed the completely wrong direction. Locate this specific switch before you actually need it during a real weak signal situation, since discovering it exists for the very first time while already frustrated is precisely the wrong moment to be searching a wall panel. Sticky valves started as an easy fix. Number 3. Freeing a dump valve. Before it genuinely sticks, a dump valve that operates smoothly every single time it gets used rarely seizes, yet valves left closed for genuinely extended periods between uses can develop real resistance from mineral buildup and dried residue coating the actual gate mechanism. A valve genuinely stuck partway open is a considerably worse problem than one simply stiff to move, since it can allow slow leakage or prevent a complete proper seal exactly when you actually need one. Operating your valves periodically, even between actual dump cycles, simply opening and closing them briefly, keeps the mechanism moving freely and genuinely prevents the kind of stubborn buildup that eventually requires real force or a specific tool to actually free later. A forgotten code costs less than owners assume. Number 2. Resetting your keyless entry code. Yourself, plenty of RV owners assume a lost or forgotten keyless entry code requires a genuinely expensive dealer visit, when a straightforward reset procedure exists on most systems, typically involving a specific sequence entered directly on the keypad itself using the original master code from your owner's documentation. This master code frequently sits printed on a small card tucked somewhere inside the actual owner's manual packet, a genuinely easy detail to overlook and discard during the excitement of an initial delivery walkthrough. Locate and safely record this master code somewhere genuinely secure before you actually need it, since losing both the daily code and the original master code simultaneously turns a simple reset into a considerably more expensive problem. Every single feature on this list finally connects. Number 1. The central panel that actually ties everything together. This is the single most valuable hidden feature on this entire list, because it does not simply add one more individual system to learn, it genuinely connects nearly every other feature you just discovered into one unified diagnostic view. Your tank levels, your battery voltage, your water heater status, and your propane detector state can all be checked from this single central monitoring panel, often revealing a genuine diagnostics or history menu most owners never actually explore beyond the simple default home screen. Certain panels even log a genuine history of recent alerts and readings, letting you spot a slowly worsening trend across several days, rather than only ever noticing a problem the exact moment it finally becomes serious enough to trigger an actual warning. Spending even a single quiet evening actually paging through every single screen this panel offers, rather than only glancing at it during an actual emergency, builds the exact kind of familiarity that makes a genuine problem considerably easier to spot the moment it actually starts. Learning to actually read this panel fluently transforms troubleshooting from a genuine guessing game into a considerably faster, more confident process, letting you catch a real developing problem days before it ever becomes the kind of expensive breakdown that actually ruins a trip.